Chew on this. This is the introduction chapter through speedee service, which is part A. Pull open the glass door and feel the rush of cool air. Step inside. Look at the black-lit color pictures of food above the counter. Look at the cardboard ads for the latest Disney movie. Get in line and place your order. Hand over some money, put the change back in your pocket. Watch teenagers in blue and gold uniforms busy working in the kitchen. Moments later, grab the plastic tray with your food, find an empty table and sit down. Unwrap the burger, squirt ketchup on the fries, stick the plastic straw through the hole in the lid of your drink. Pick up the burger and dig in. The whole experience of eating at a fast food restaurant has become so familiar, so routine that we take it for granted. It has just become another habit, like brushing your teeth before bed. We do it without even thinking about it. And that's the problem. Every day, about 1 out of 14 Americans eats at a McDonald's. Every month, about 9 out of 10 American children visit one. McDonald's has become the most popular fast food chain in the world and by far the most powerful. In 1968, there were about 1,000 McDonald's restaurants, all of them in the United States. Now, there are more than 31,000 McDonald's selling Happy Meals in 120 countries from Istanbul, Turkey to Papeete to Tahiti. And in the United States, McDonald's buys more processed beef, chicken, pork, apples, and potatoes than any other company. It spends more money on advertising and marketing than any other company that sells food. As a result, it is America's most famous food brand. The impact of McDonald's on the way we live today is truly mind-boggling. The golden arches are now more widely recognized than the Christian crosses. Despite McDonald's fame and all the money it spends on advertising, every day the vast majority of its customers don't plan to eat there. Most fast food visits are impulsive. That means that they do it without even thinking about it. Okay, they don't plan it out. The decision to buy fast food is usually made at the last minute without much thought. People generally don't leave the house in the morning saying, "I'm going to make sure to eat some fast food today." Most of the time, they're just walking down the sidewalk or driving down the road, not thinking about anything in particular. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're in a hurry and don't have time to cook. And then they see a great big fast food sign, the golden arches, the red and blue of the Domino's pizza box, the picture of Colonel Sanders, and suddenly think, "Hey, I want some of that." So they stop to eat fast food. They do it because they feel like it. They just can't resist the impulse. The point of this book is to take that strong impulse we all feel, our hunger for sweet, salty, fatty fast foods, and make you think about it. Chew on This will tell you where fast food comes from, who makes it, what's in it, and what happens when you eat it. This is a book about fast food and the world it has made. Food is one of the most important things you'll ever buy, and yet most people never bother to think about the food and where it comes from. People spend a lot more time worrying about what kind of blue jeans to wear, what kind of video games to play, what kind of computers to buy. They compare the different models and styles. They talk to friends about the various options. They read as much as they can before making a choice. But those purchases don't really matter. When you get tired of old blue jeans, video games, and computers, you can just give them away or throw them out. The food you eat enters your body and literally becomes part of you. It helps determine whether you'll be short or tall, weak or strong, thin or fat. It helps determine whether you will enjoy a long, healthy life or die young. Food is of fundamental importance. So why is it that most people don't think about fast food and don't know much about it? The simple answer is this. The companies that sell fast food don't want you to think about it. They don't want you to know where it comes from and how it's made. They just want you to buy it. Have you ever seen a fast food ad that shows the factories where French fries are made? Ever see a fast food ad that shows the slaughterhouses where the cattle are turned into ground beef? Ever seen an ad that tells you what's really in your fast food milkshake or why some strange sounding chemicals make it taste good? Ever seen an ad that shows overweight, unhealthy kids stuffing their faces with greasy fries at a fast food restaurant? You probably haven't, but you've probably seen a lot of fast food commercials that show thin, happy children having a lot of fun. So I'm going to pause there for a second because we're going to try to write down some of the things that we've heard so far. People have been eating since the beginning of time, but they've only been eating chicken McNuggets since 1983. Fast food is a recent invention. During the past 30 years, fast food has spread from the United States to every corner of the globe. A business that began with a handful of little hot dog and hamburger stands in Southern California now sells the all-American meal, a hamburger, French fries, and soda, just about everywhere. Fast food is now sold at restaurants and drive-thrus, at baseball stadiums, high schools, elementary schools, and universities, on cruise ships, trains, and airplanes, at Kmart's, Walmart's, and even the cafeterias of children's hospitals. In 1970, Americans spent about $6 billion on fast food. In 2006, they spent about $142 billion on fast food. Do we want to write that down?
Yeah.
Okay. Americans now spend more money on fast food than on college education, personal computers, computer software, or new cars. They spend more on fast food than on books, movies, magazines, newspapers, and recorded music combined. Fast food may look like the sort of food people have always eaten, but it's different. It's not the kind of food you can make in your kitchen from scratch. Fast food is something radically new. Indeed, the food we eat has changed more during the past 30 years than during the previous 30,000 years. In the pages that follow, you will learn how the fast food business got started. You will learn how the fast food chains try to get kids into their restaurants, how they treat kids working in their kitchen, how they make their food, and you'll learn what can happen when you eat too much of it. These are things you really need to know. Why? Because fast food is heavily advertised to kids and often prepared by workers who are kids themselves. This is an industry that both feeds off the young. For the most part, fast food tastes pretty good. That's one of the main reasons people like to eat it. Fast food has been carefully designed to taste good. It's also inexpensive and convenient. But the Happy Meals, 2-for-1 deal, and free refills of soda give a false sense of how much fast food actually costs. The real price never appears on the menu. Hundreds of millions of people eat fast food every day without giving it much thought. They unwrap their hamburgers and dig in. An hour or so later, when the burger's all gone and the wrapper's been tossed into the garbage, the whole meal has already been forgotten. Chew on this. People should know what lies beneath the shiny, happy service of every fast food restaurant. They should know what really lurks between those sesame seed buns. As the old saying goes, you are what you eat. So that's the end of the introduction. Right, the next section is the pioneers. And if you take a look, there's the picture right there too. Okay, that's Hamburger Charlie. The story of fast food begins in October 1885 near the small town of Seymour, Wisconsin. A friendly and outgoing 15-year-old boy named Charlie Nagreen was driving his family's ox cart down a dirt road amid wide open fields. Charlie was going to Outagamie County's first annual fair, where he wanted to earn some extra money selling meatballs. What happened next was the unlikely origin of a delicious sandwich that would one day change the world. As Charlie sold meatballs at the fair, he noticed that customers had trouble eating them and strolling at the same time. People were impatient. They wanted to visit Mr. John's Bull's popular beehives encased in glass, to see the fancy new harvesting machines, and to enjoy all the other thrilling attractions at the fair. They didn't want to waste time eating meatballs. Charlie suddenly had an idea. If he squished the meatballs and put them between two slices of bread, people could walk and eat. And so Charlie invented the hamburger.
The ham?
Yeah, so
was it a meatball?
So it was a meatball that he squished. So think meatballs are ground meat, right? But you take the meatball, you squish it. So he squished the meatballs and he put them between bread.
For a hot dog.
For a hamburger. German immigrants lived in Charlie's hometown of Hortonville, Wisconsin, and he later claimed that the new sandwich was named after the German town of Hamburg, long famous for its ground beef steaks. Charlie continued selling burgers at the Outagamie County Fair until 1951. By then, he was an old man who liked to sing this rhythm while flipping burgers on the grill. Hamburgers, hamburgers, hamburgers hot. Onions in the middle, pickle on top. Make your lips go flippity flop. Charlie had not only invented the hamburger, but also composed one of the first advertising jingles for it. Those are like the songs that they play with the advertising. A number of other cities, including New Haven, Connecticut, Akron, Ohio, and Hamburg, New York, now claim to be the true birthplace of America's favorite sandwich. But the residents of Seymour, Wisconsin, will have none of that. The signs that welcome people into Seymour let everybody know they're entering the home of the hamburger. And every August, the town has a big parade in honor of Hamburger Charlie. All right, killer burgers. Despite Charlie's best efforts, burgers didn't become America's national dish overnight. For a long time after that, 1885, Outagamie County Fair hamburger meat had a bad reputation. Many people assumed that ground beef was dirty. According to one historian, during the early 1900s, the hamburger was considered a food for the poor, polluted and unsafe to eat. Restaurants generally didn't sell them. Burgers were served at lunch carts parked near factories, at cruises, and carnivals. It was widely believed that ground beef was made from rotten old meat full of chemicals and preservatives. The hamburger's habit is just about as safe, one food critic warned, as getting meat out of a garbage can. The hamburger's reputation wasn't helped when murderers started using ground beef to kill people. In 1910, Alexander J. Moody, a wealthy banker from Chicago, died after somebody put poison in his burger. The police were never able to solve the case. 1 year later, a Chicago pie maker was poisoned the same way. Similar murder stories appeared in the newspapers across the United States. Ground beef seemed like the perfect food in which to hide deadly poison. The widespread fear of hamburgers caused a great deal of frustration among butchers. They liked to grind leftover pieces of beef into hamburger meat. They liked selling every scrap of meat in the store. They didn't want to waste any of it. But most customers preferred to buy solid pieces of steak. That way you could see exactly what you were buying and feel confident that there was nothing poisonous in it. So we're going to pause there for a second. In 1925, when the New Yorkers were asked to name their favorite meal, hamburger ranked 19th. Of the 180,000 people who voted for their favorites, just 2,912 voted for hamburger. It beat out Gefilet fish, 1,361 votes, but the burger lost big to corned beef and cabbage, 23,061 votes, and roast loin of pork, 5,411 votes. By a wide margin, most New Yorkers even preferred eating cow tongue and spinach, 8,400 votes. As you can see, the hamburger was low on the totem pole. Around this time, Walt Anderson set out to defend the hamburger from its many critics. A former janitor and short-order cook, Walt loved burgers and opened a small restaurant in Wichita, Kansas, devoted to selling them. Walt grilled the burgers right in front of his customers so they could see for themselves that the meat and the equipment were clean. The place was so successful that Walt found a business partner and started opening more hamburger restaurants built in the shape of small white medieval forts. Walt called them White Castles, a name suggesting that the place was solid and the food was pure. White Castle restaurants claimed that their ground beef was delivered twice a day to ensure freshness and supported an unusual experiment at the University of Minnesota. For 13 weeks, a medical student there consumed nothing but White Castle burgers and water. When the student not only survived the experiment, but also seemed pretty healthy, people started to view hamburgers in a new light. Now hamburgers seemed wholesome, not deadly. White Castle was popular among working men in the East and Midwest, but it didn't attract many women or children. It didn't turn hamburgers into America's favorite sandwich or create the modern fast food business. A pair of brothers in Southern California did all that, along with a traveling salesman who for years had failed at just about everything he tried.